Hey everyone, welcome to my woods. It is my 5th year of tapping maple trees in beautiful northern Minnesota. Kind of brisk today, but sap should be flowing pretty soon. I've gotten a lot of questions from people asking about the process, so I decided to finally become a pro, buy a GoPro, document everything from collecting to boiling to taste testing. So, hope you enjoy. Come along for this journey. See how the magic happens.
Put your branches up. Give me the sweet stuff. Come on. Got a Milwaukee M18 cordless impact driver and I know how to use it. That's it. You asked for it.
One of the best parts of living in Minnesota is the changing of seasons. Spring is my favorite for many reasons. The birds, flowers, new growth, smells, and everything coming back alive after months of hibernation, including myself. I'm not a fan of the cold, so I don't have many outdoor winter hobbies, but there are worse trade-offs when considering living in warmer climates. Syruping is another reason I love spring. It forces me to get outside, get some exercise, and connect with nature. Living where we do, I feel like part of the land, living off of it versus just living on it. We moved out of the cities and built on 40 acres of hardwoods right before COVID hit. Although I grew up in the country not far away, I had never tapped a tree or collected sap before. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have been highly motivated to do so as a kid anyway. But now as a big kid, I'd wanted to do this for quite a long time, and there has been a lot to learn. The first fall we lived in the woods, I took the time to flag the maples so I knew what to tap once I could no longer identify them from their leaves. I'm not an expert in anything, and while I can tell a maple leaf from an oak leaf, I didn't want to be the dummy that taps the wrong trees and gets no sap. Thankfully, there's this thing called the internet, which teaches you pretty much anything you want to know, even if it's wrong. I also have several friends with tapping experience that I have been very happy to learn from, and they've been a tremendous help. You know who you are. Please keep in mind that throughout this process, I do what works for me. It may not be right, I may not know better, but I'm always looking to improve, be more efficient, and make things easier. I started very small, and it's been a sweet learning experience. After I have my 80 bags assembled into their bag holders, I'm ready to head out with my drill and taps. I had my trees flagged and mapped out initially, but after a year I knew where they all were. So the first thing I do with each tree is look for the previous year's tap holes. You want to avoid these several inches both horizontally and vertically. You also want to try to line up a tap with a major branch above it. This could become a heavier highway of sap going up the trunk of the tree. Maple trees are safe to tap when they're 10 inches in diameter and healthy. If they're double that size, I may put a second tap in them. To tap a tree, you drill the appropriate size hole for your spile, or tap, and then gently drive it in with a hammer. You're supposed to use a special lightweight hammer so you don't damage the tree, but so far I haven't had any issues with my normal hammer. The spile should also be on a slight incline going into the tree. Maple trees depend on the freeze-thaw cycle and will only flow when it's below freezing at night and above freezing during the day. A perfect cycle would be dropping to 20 degrees for an extended time before warming up to upper 30s. My syruping experience has been an evolution with different equipment, and for various reasons, I've settled on the hanging of the 4-gallon bags. It takes me about 8 hours to assemble bags into holders, tap trees and hang the bags, and also wash all of my buckets, barrels, and pans every spring. Those first few drips coming out of the tap are the most satisfying thing to see at the beginning of the season. The real workout begins when it's time to collect. No, I'm not sponsored by Menards, but if you know someone that works there, hook me up. Collecting sap is a very straightforward task. Put the sap in a bucket, bring the sap back to where you'll boil it into a larger holding container. Although it might not seem like it, compared to a real sugar bush operation, my hobby farm is quite small and started even smaller. Two trees, full bucket. Be a long day. The real pros will hook up tubing to all their trees and suck it back to where they boil it. Not only are they not depending on gravity so they can get even more sap, but they don't have to carry it by hand. Collecting sap every day would be ideal to make it less of a burden. However, oftentimes I end up collecting every other day, which gets old pretty fast. These are the closest trees. Still a workout. I'm going to be sore tomorrow. A full 5-gallon bucket of sap weighs around 50 pounds. Carrying 2 buckets with equal amounts of sap makes distributing the load easier, but since my trees are kind of spread out, I may be carrying the 100 pounds of sap up to 150 yards back to my holding barrels. We had a timber sale done on our land in 2017, which left large ruts on already uneven terrain, so using some sort of four-wheeler or ATV would be difficult unless we got things flattened out. I didn't collect yesterday, maybe the day before, and now I'm paying for it. We've got a lot of full bags, which is fine. This means a lot of back and forth. These things get heavy, so see how long it takes. One of the joys of living specifically where we do is that we share the land with a pair of barred owls. They're commonly seen and even more commonly heard, especially in the evening while enjoying a sauna after a day of hauling sap. My dad built a nest box for the owls, which they have used every year since. Last year they had 3 owlets, which was amazing timing with a new lens for my camera. You just need to stay away from their area once the babies hatch because they're very protective and have been attacked. But you could take advantage of this time because you're almost guaranteed to see them until they've fledged and are good enough flyers to leave the area. This process obviously gets pretty repetitive, especially when there's only a couple trails to take back to my base camp. Lots of back and forth. Sometimes you'll get lucky and hear what I think are our barred owls trying to ward off neighboring owls to stay out of their territory. It's pretty tough to differentiate, but I'm pretty sure there are 3 owls in here going off on each other. Sweet. Pop quiz. I did this nighttime lapse of the stars, which I love. Who knows the name of the North Star that doesn't move in the sky? If you said Polaris, you get a gold star, or maybe some syrup. Maybe I should do a drawing for some. The season is done when it no longer gets cold enough at night to freeze, or when the trees start to bud. At this point, the sap will start to change and will no longer taste quite right. If you're lucky, you can see this because the sap will start to turn yellow. Other times, you may be able to taste the difference in the sap. And sometimes the tree will decide for you and just stop flowing. I have found variation in sap output for where I tap in the tree, but generally, if a tree is a good producer, it will be every year. I have 2 trees that compete for top producer every year that on good days can give multiple gallons in a single day per tree. For 2025, my record single day collection was 137 gallons of sap. This was probably 15 trips of full or almost full buckets. Total for the season was 575 gallons of sap collected in roughly a 1-month span, which was my second best year, which was pretty cool. Also pretty cool was this barrel that started to freeze overnight. Check this out. I would have just thought it would freeze more uniform across the top in a sheet, but instead these vertical sheets of ice formed that look amazingly fake. I'd never seen anything like it. Okay, let's light these bad boys up. The first year I did this, I bought a pan and an outdoor gas grill to fit and tried my best to make it work. I quickly pivoted to burning wood, which was the right move since we have a lot of it. However, this was over a makeshift pit with cinder blocks, which was not ideal and terribly inefficient. For my second year, my dad welded a stove out of a water tank with a spot for the pan to fit and slapped a door on it. My fourth year, he made another stove so it could boil twice as fast. Throughout the years, I've also tried a reverse osmosis system I built, but have not had great luck with it working well. I think I need to fix some super minor leaks on it. The reverse osmosis system takes the water out of the sap faster than boiling it by running the sap through a series of filters. It's the same thing you might have in your house or under your sink, but instead of keeping the clean water and discarding any impurities, we keep the sugary sap and discard the water. Been pretty productive. Need to add some wood to that guy. You can tell that it's getting a little more saturated, starting to get yellowy, as opposed to the clear sap up on top. Gone through a bunch of sap already. Maybe not. That one's gone down. Oh yeah. That one's a quarter left. So we've done about a one third of what we've got here. Plus there were some in the buckets last night. So, not bad. Digging into this wood pile over here. By the end of the weekend, we should have some syrup. It is very early, but the fire must get going. I'm always amazed at the coals left. I can start a fire again. It is a very brisk, single-digit morning, and when I came out, the syrup was pretty low, and I already put wood in, and one of the risks of these pans is if it's tilted and not perfectly level, you can get one of the corners exposed if the level is too low, and then it can burn. So I'd already put all the wood in, and it was starting to get going, and I needed to add some more sap, otherwise it could start burning. And so I had a minor panic when I went to go get some more sap and everything's frozen. So this little guy has a tiny bit left frozen. The other one also frozen. This is the most full. Thankfully I was able to break through the top and get some ice out of the way to get some sap. So, crisis averted. I love how this freezes. Gets a thick thing around the side. And we're supposed to get snow tonight, so yippee! Thanks, March. And it started to tap into my big wood pile. Made me kind of sad because it's so pretty, but it's got to get burned eventually. Backlogged yesterday, ended up collecting over 100 gallons, which was a lot. Had a little bit of help, so that was nice. And I don't think we're flowing today since it's 30 degrees, but that's okay. Need a break. Tend to the fire. Oh, that looked cool. Feels reckless. But it's definitely cold. Definitely snowy. And this is definitely full. Viewers, where are you, viewers? There you are. What are you doing in there? What are you burning, you might ask? Well, thank you for asking. Birch, maple, oak, because I've got a gajillion oak trees here, and some pine. That was not from me, it's from my parents. Mostly Norway, some white pine, some jack pine. That's it. That's what I've got. "2025 is the first year I finally kept track of how much wood I used, which is a little over 3 cord. 1 cord of wood is a cut and split pile that is 8 feet long by 4 feet high by 4 feet wide. Living on 40 acres of a mature forest of mostly oak is an amazing perk for this little hobby of mine. It is a lot of work though, and if you told the childhood version of me that I would love hauling, cutting, splitting, and burning wood as an adult, I would have said you were nuts. Because, as a kid, I hated splitting and hauling wood so much that I said that I was Superman and hauling wood was my kryptonite. After talking to others, specifically one of my neighbors, I've learned how inefficient my stoves are, and I'm going to do some more research and marketplace shopping to find and build something better. I can currently store about 175 gallons of sap before I have to start boiling. Boiling this much sap, in addition to whatever flows during the boil, takes about 3 full days. The flow varies from season to season, but generally I'll end up doing 3 or 4 boils. One of these batches burned pretty bad. I don't know if it's going to affect the taste or not. I tried a little bit, but when it's not full syrup, it just kind of tastes weird anyway, so I'm just going to see how it goes. I'll probably keep it separate when I finish it inside. It just got too low, and then since it's not level, it gets all crispy and burned pretty good. Real bad. So, fingers crossed it doesn't affect it, but we'll see. As you can see, we got some snow. You can see the realm of heat put off by these stoves is pretty sweet. And it's a wonderful winter wonderland in April, so that's cool. Still got 3 barrels full. Just started digging into that 3rd one. Things have not been boiling as well today, probably just from the snow getting in there, maybe some of the wood's wet, I don't know. This doesn't feel as productive. That'll happen. That guy's still steaming. Still hot. This guy not quite as much, so he's going first. Let's see how it goes. When it's waterier, it filters a lot faster. So far not as dirty either. as the other one. Oh, whew. Just shallow enough. Final boil on this guy's coming along nicely. Try not to overdo it, because that's what I did over here. Look at the overflow mess I made. And it smells amazing, but I super ruined this batch. It was bubbling like lava, and this is gonna be a nightmare to clean probably, but got what I deserved. Oh, I forgot I was gonna grab a spoon. Taste it. Bad. Oh, it's really gotten cold on the surface. Oofta. Wow. I don't know if I want to taste it anymore. Guess what? It tasted awful. I'll spare you the details, but bad idea. Also, cleaning this pan up wasn't as bad as I expected. Thankfully, sap and syrup are very easy to clean with just water. And so, soak, scrape, repeat. Let it soak in the sun to heat up after some hot water cools off. Things were fine. No big deal. Full steam ahead. Time to finish on the stove. Finishing on the stove can be painfully slow, even to boil out just an inch of water out of the pot. Boiling the amount you see here could take 3 to 4 hours, but you need to have control of the flame and can't risk burning over an open fire. All the sticky steam can be annoying to clean from the cabinets after, so I also need to endure a loud hood fan for the duration of the boil. You can see I'm filtering out some little bits that make it through the filter somehow, and you really have to turn down the flame in order to use that, otherwise it could boil over very easily. Maple syrup is just maple sap with most of the water boiled out of it. Out of the tree it tastes like fresh clean water with a very faint hint of sweet. This is when it is only 2% sugar. When you're done boiling, it's around 66% sugar. Nothing is added to make it taste so sweet, which many people don't believe. To get the syrup to this concentration generally takes 30 to 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. Different types of maple trees will be sweeter. You guessed it, sugar maples are the sweetest. Most of my trees are red maples, but I have some sugar maples as well, I think, and 2 silver maples. My ratio is usually around 35 to 1 for sap to syrup. There are multiple ways to determine when syrup is ready. I go by temperature because it's the easiest in my opinion. 219 degrees is the most common temp people boil to. However, I like to take it further. Sometimes too far. I boil to 225 degrees, which makes a thicker syrup. Not thick enough to make my kids use it over Mrs. Butterworth's, but we don't need to talk about that. The other risk as you boil it further is boiling over and making a mess. I definitely don't do this every year, or even multiple times per year, leading to a very difficult cleanup on our stove. Once you hit the desired temp, just funnel it into a bottle and try not to burn yourself. Tighten on the cap, and then get the top of the bottle and the cap to be exposed to the heat to sterilize things and seal it all up. I didn't have any leaks this year, which was great. One downside of pushing the limits for a thicker syrup is potentially overboiling, which brings the risk of crystallization. This is one of my bottles from last year, which has a lot of raw candy at the bottom. It's not a big deal, you can eat it if you can get it out of there, but it just takes away from your end product. If you boil the syrup even further, you can make some maple candy. This requires going to 243 degrees. As with any baking and candy making, in my opinion, it can be very finicky to get things right, and once again takes forever. But when it works, it is super delicious. Once you hit the desired temp, you've got to wait and let it cool down to 185, and then stir it for 5 to 10 minutes for it to harden, and then pour it into a mold. Ta-da! Finished candy. This wasn't my final amount of syrup for the season, but a good chunk of it. Syrup color can vary for multiple factors like burning it, but generally it is lighter at the beginning of the season and gets darker towards the end. This may affect the taste of someone with a highly tuned syrup palate, but I can't tell the difference. So what did I learn this year? Well, pay closer attention to your boiling sap so that it doesn't turn into Pompeii, that's for sure. I had planned on trying to make birch syrup this year for the first time, but by the end of every season I'm quite burned out and didn't want to take on another adventure. I also read that birch season is after maple season and that birch sap spoils much faster and you need way more of it. So it is bound to be more finicky and require greater hand-holding that I wasn't interested in this year. Hopefully next year I will continue to say. Birch syrup isn't a replacement for maple syrup anyway. It's not as sweet and is better used in cooking, but I do still want to try it. I also didn't mention the cleanup. It takes several more hours to take down all the bags, holders, and taps. Disassembling the sticky bags out of the holders isn't a ton of fun, but I don't have room for storing 80 buckets yet. When you remove the spile out of the tree, you don't need to do anything to fill the hole left behind. The tree will naturally heal itself. So what can I do to improve? Please let me know in the comments, as I'm anxious to hear. Last year I left my taps soaking in water too long and they ended up with this hardened mineralization that I have been thus far unable to clean off. I'm not sure if it will be a problem to actually use them, but I'm still leery. Please tell me how to fix this. Boiling them in vinegar did not help. For the future, I'm looking forward to replenishing my wood supply, finishing up our new woodshed and getting it filled. We're getting a new pole building built this summer with a wood shop soon to follow. And I already have some cameras on some robin's nests, so there are hopefully some more robin babies in our future. And then there's also this year's barred owl babies that have yet to pop out of their box. Let me know what you're interested in, if it's none or all of these things, and I may be motivated to do some more recording. There are certainly wonderful opportunities all year to see interesting things out in nature in our area. I consider myself very lucky. As they say in the movie Up, adventure is out there. You just have to get out there to have the chance to experience it.